Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and this is my fourth video in my series on the flowkey piano training app. In this video, I'm going to quickly go over the music reading training section and the playing scales categories, so let's check it out. Okay, as I mentioned in some of my previous videos, I'm recommending that after you complete the first course category, Introduction to Piano, that you skip over the next few categories and that you complete the music reading training section, and that you get a start on the playing scales section. At the very least, C major and A minor. I would do those and complete all of music reading training before you go back to working on playing with both hands and intermediate piano playing. Okay, so on to the music reading training course. This course gets you started on sight reading at a nice comfortable pace that starts with middle C and the notes around middle C. That should be the first few notes that you see in your sight reading training. And then it's going to move on to the left hand and show you how middle C can also be played in the left hand because it's also in the bass clef. Explains that to you, and then goes through some of the first few notes that you're going to be learning in the bass clef. Now, some of these note reading practice exercises, like this one that I'm going to start here, are pretty lengthy, and that's actually a really good thing because it really gets you a lot of practice and repetition on some of this introductory sight reading. And these are lessons that you should be coming back to regularly until you're super comfortable with them. So just because you do it once doesn't mean that you're done. You should really do this a bunch of times and come back to it the next day. So it's waiting for me to play here. So you see I played the wrong note there, so it waits until I correct that and play the right note. And you can see this goes on for quite a ways, and there's a lot of exercises in this this course category that are like that, and that gets you to repeat them a few times. So really good lessons in here. Okay, if I scroll down to the bottom of the music reading training course category, these practice and repetition exercises that are at the end of this course category are really good. They're a little bit longer. They've got some songs built in, which helps make it fun and interesting. But it's a really good introduction to being able to play with both your left and your right hand. It is a little bit daunting at first to think about playing with both hands together on the piano, but this is a pretty gentle introduction to it because they get you alternating with playing some notes in your left hand and then playing some notes in your right hand. And the songs work that way as well. So you can see how we've just got the left hand going here, and then it'll kind of bounce back and forth between the left and the right. So it's challenging, but it's not going to be too overwhelming. So one thing I'd like to mention here is that all the exercises in this course can definitely be repeated many times over, but in particular these practice and repetition ones at the end, they're a little bit longer and a little bit more challenging, should definitely be something that you return to now and then for practice. Then this section finishes off with two more songs that use both hands. Once again, though, they're still alternating, so it's not quite at the same time. So it's definitely doable. So now on to the scales section. This section includes the scales that have two or less sharps or flats in their key signature. Don't worry about it if you don't know what that means, but basically these scales are going to be a little bit easier to sight read than some of the ones that you might encounter later. Now the scales I would definitely recommend working on, as I mentioned before, are the C major and the A minor scales. I would work on those along with the sight reading training and get all of the sight reading training done and get the C major and the A minor scales done before you go back to those earlier course categories like playing with both hands and intermediate piano playing. So I want to emphasize once again how great a feature I think it is that flowkey has the overhead view of someone playing the piano, showing you proper finger positioning is. If I go into this B flat major scale and I go into the right hand, you can see how the finger positioning in this one Might not be the way you would expect it to be. You're used to starting with your thumb, but in this case, you're starting with your index finger. And that's just simply because that's going to be an easier way to move up and down this particular scale. So things like that are super, super valuable. Now, since drilling scales over and over isn't the most fun thing in the world, but believe me, it does pay off down the road, it's nice that flowkey allows you to bounce around from different lessons and courses as opposed to forcing you to complete something before moving on. So while I would strongly recommend always trying to include some scale work in your daily or weekly practice routine, it is important not to get too bogged down in that. So this setup is nice because you can be working on your music reading training, whatever lessons you're on in here, and then bounce over to work on some scale training as well. And then for some fun at the as part of your practice routine as well, go and work on some songs. So I'm still quite liking flowkey as a great app for getting started on playing the piano. In my next video, I'm going to be moving on to the playing with both hands section, and then either the intermediate piano playing or the chords section. I need to take a closer look at both of those before I decide. Until then, I would highly recommend that you check out my affiliate link below and check out flowkey for yourself. You can either get started with flowkey and choose one of their packages, or you can just test drive the free version, which just limits you to a few of the songs and just a few of the first lessons in a couple of the categories. And please subscribe to my channel so you can get updates when I post new content. Thanks a bunch for watching this video, and happy piano playing.